What's up everybody, thanks for joining the channel. And in this video I'm going to talk about, is the Google Pixel 5a 5G the best phone ever released for Android? Let's go ahead and take a look. So that sounds like a ridiculous statement, but I really do believe the Pixel 5a 5G is really the best Android phone ever released, and it is the good combination of all things good for an Android phone. This phone has it all, and it has it at a great price point. I'm putting all these things together, and the Google Pixel 5a 5G has pretty much everything somebody could want in an Android phone. There's nothing really to complain about. This really does have everything you really need, except it could have been better. But let's go ahead and take a look. So this phone is $450. Price-wise, it is half the price of a flagship. Flagship phones cost $1,000. Let's be real. Galaxy S21, a high-end OnePlus, even Motorola has phones that are expensive. But in general, this is less than half the price of a flagship phone. But you're getting pretty much everything that you need. The Pixel line has come out with the more budget A line, and it started with the 3A, then the 4A, and finally the 5A. A lot of things, or the biggest reason that the phone got fixed, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit more later, is it finally has 5G and a big battery. Those are like the two headlining things about this phone. But you know, this is the cheapest 5G Pixel phone to date. It takes a lot of what was good about the Google Pixel 5 and improved on it, and a lot of things that were wrong with it, they kind of like put it, you know, behind them and just fixed everything about it and put it in a nice $450 package. Now, this phone isn't going to be perfect, but I think this is the phone that every single person should buy if they're looking for the best combination of specs and value in a phone that really doesn't have any compromises. And yeah, so yeah, it's $450. That's the first thing, is the price. So you finally got 5G. So if you have 5G in your area, you got good coverage from pretty much all the carriers. This phone supports every carrier in the US and abroad. So you know, this is going to improve a lot of downloading and buffering. You can watch videos in 4K and this and that. All these good things that come along with 5G, we finally have it. So that's one big modern thing that is good about this phone, is that it has 5G, and it's covered pretty much everywhere in the world, except that this phone's only available in the US and in Japan. And also, it's not available on prepaid. That's one of the big drawbacks of this phone, is that if this phone were on Metro or Cricket or Boost, this phone could be given out for either $0 or for like $50, and that would sell like hotcakes. So that's one disappointment, the availability of this phone. But I digress. 5G is in the good direction. This is basically, there's no reason not to have 5G in a phone now, and this price point is $450. If you break it down monthly, this phone's only going to cost you around $40. Here in where I'm at, I'm in the Illinois area in Chicago, and you're going to be, you know, 12 months. This phone's going to cost you around $40. You pair that with a $50 plan on prepaid, for example, and you're looking at $90. And I consider like every year to be a good place to upgrade your phone, because you could trade in the last model and kind of do like a yearly upgrade cycle, because that's when phones usually come out. So that's one good thing about this phone. Next thing is the weight is pretty good. It's not an overly heavy phone. It's not an overly big phone. Measures 6 inches by 3 inches by 0.30 inches thick. So this phone isn't like a huge monster, either size-wise or weight-wise. It's right in there a bit. You know, a lot of the phone is covered in screen, so that's good. Build quality is actually pretty good, even though I'm not really too into the build quality of a phone. I slap a TPU case to protect it from scratches and from bumps and bruises. I'm not really clumsy with the phones, but once in a while they do fall from time to time. But this phone has metal frame and a metal back, so it even has a premium feel to it, even though it's only $450. So if you like to rock your phone naked, well, then this phone's gonna feel really, really good. The quality is good on it, but I rather slap a TPU case. Another thing about this phone that it has that not a lot of phones have out there is an eSIM. That means you could have it. You could have two different services, two different data plans, two different phone numbers, or you could also be activating this phone without actually needing a SIM card. So if you're the type of person also that hangs around the outdoors a lot, around the pool, or if you're very clumsy around the toilet or in the bath, or your kids like to run around and use your phone and they don't really look out for water and stuff like that, the Pixel 5a also has IP67 dust and water resistance, which is good for up to 1 meter for 30 minutes. Now, me personally, it's not a big deal for me if the phone has water resistance or not, or dust resistance or not. I pretty much take care of my phones for the most part. But this is a really, really good extra thing. It's usually found on more expensive devices, either mid-range or, and higher. And, depending on your situation, if you're outside a lot or if you're around water a lot, this is something that might stand out to you. But it's definitely something that is welcome on a device that is in the mid-range price. Next is the display. Now, honestly, this is not going to blow you away, but it is an OLED display. It's 6.3 inches, so it's not overly huge. Most phones now are around 6.5 inches. This one's a little bit smaller, so kind of manageable. 85% screen to body ratio, and it's a 60 hertz display. Me personally, I don't care about the refresh rate that much. I could go 60, I could go 90, I could go 120. It doesn't really matter to me. But for this price point, there's some cheaper phones out there that have 90 hertz refresh rate. I'm looking at the OnePlus phones that are like $200, $300. But in the grand scheme of things, the resolution on this phone is pretty good at 1080p. It's very doable. Again, I even deal with 720p displays. I'm not into the screens that much. And it has a pretty decent PPI at 415. Anything above 400 is a pretty good display. This is the type of display that's found on cheaper phones and on more expensive phones as well. But yeah, 60 hertz, it's just, it is what it is. You'll be satisfied with it at $450. I'll let it slide. And it also has an always on display. So, you're going to get your messages and notifications here and there when you're not actually holding the device and it's sitting on a table. So I'll let that slide. And that's what the display, it's not going to blow you away. Next is going to be software, and for a lot of people, it's going to be very, very important. This is the Pixel series we're talking about, and when it comes to the Pixel series, you're getting bone stock Android with no bloatware, no crazy skins like Samsung or in the past with LG or even Motorola, for example, even though that's kind of close stock. You're going to get updates from day one from Google, and you're always going to have updates. This phone is probably going to get you 3 years of updates. It has Android 11. It's going to be with Android 12, Android 13, and maybe Android 14. But it might be long in the tooth by then. You're not going to get a lot of crazy features like Samsung throws in with their skins and their software. But basically, what you're going to get is a nice, fluid, fast version of Android. It's going to support all your regular apps, all your most popular apps. 99% of people are going to and be enjoying their apps on this, this operating system. This version of Android is not going to get in the way of what's going on. And you pair that with the Snapdragon 765G processor. That's not a super top of the line processor, but it's still above a mid-range processor. For me, I really don't care what Android version it is because to me, I don't think Android adds a lot of value over the years with any major differences, any meaningful updates or gestures or any little things here and there like iOS does. But I do appreciate having that clean build of Android. It's going to be fast, and you're going to at least get the newest things that Android is intended to be, with the newest updates being a Google Pixel phone. This is the closest phone you're going to get for an Android phone if you want it to be on par with an iPhone, with iPhone type software. A downside to also being an Android phone is that you're not going to have anything in the iOS realm of messages, of iMessage, FaceTime, AirDrop, and iMovie. So that's kind of one of the things that you might want to look at. It also won't support the Apple Watch, which, you know, is a pretty good watch. But those are just some things that just come with Android itself. It's not a detriment to this particular phone, but that's just Android in general. Now, when it comes to storage, you're going to need to get 128 gigs of storage, more than enough. Very pleased. For $450. This is the same type of storage that's found in more expensive $1,000 phones, so it's not a problem there. Most people are streaming everything, their movies, their music. You shouldn't run out of space on this. You know, just make sure you delete your videos that are, you know, you don't need anymore, or blurry photos and stuff like that. Storage is going to be fine, even though this doesn't have a micro SD card slot. I've kind of moved away from that. You don't really need an SD card slot nowadays for the most part. Now, this phone has 6 gigs of RAM, and I'll be perfectly honest, you're not going to notice any difference really if you have 4, 6, or 8 gigs of RAM. 6 gigs of RAM for this price is okay. It's not, I've seen cheaper phones with the same amount of RAM, but you're not going to really notice too much of a difference unless you're a super power user of heavy intensive gaming or video editing or stuff like that. Or if you have a million apps in the background and you're constantly switching, you won't notice a difference. So 6 gigs of RAM is perfectly good for this phone at this price point. So you pair the storage with the RAM, with the processor, and Android 11 stock. That means that this phone is going to run a lot of your popular apps with no problem. You're going to use this phone every day, and you're going to experience, you know, almost no problems. And I say that because for the past decade, we've all been accustomed to using the same type of apps, and for the most part, the apps that we use on an everyday basis don't require a lot of heavy lifting. So I'm talking about Twitter, I'm talking about browsing the web, your email, your Google Maps, your YouTube Music, your Pandora, your Spotify, HBO Max, you know, Hulu, all those good things, and even gaming. As long as you're not into heavy gaming, heavy intensive graphics and video editing and stuff like that, you're gonna run like Dead Trigger, for example, and Grand Theft Auto, things along those lines. And also, most games are going to be, you know, Call of Duty will work fine on this device, no problem. 99% of the apps will work perfectly fine. It's just this phone's like custom made. It doesn't have a lot of stuff standing in its way. It's just gonna do its thing. Now, moving on to the camera, and it's one of the highlights of the Pixel line. Google has always made really great cameras on their Pixel phones, and this is no doubt going to be a great camera phone, especially for $450. You got a 12 megapixel shooter as the main camera on the back, and a 16 megapixel ultra wide, and you can shoot video in 4K. Basically, this is going to give you some great pictures and great video, and with light and low light. You're gonna have smooth video, all that good stuff. It compares really good to flagship level quality, be it on an iPhone or an S21 or Samsung or any of that stuff. You're gonna get great pictures and video. The one detriment to this is that although you got a great camera on this phone, Android doesn't have any real apps that let you create content that's free, like iMovie, for example, on iPhone. You're gonna have to download software that has watermarks, or you're gonna have to pay a monthly fee, and it's just terrible because, you know, you're not gonna be able to take full advantage of this device. You're gonna have to offload your media, your videos and pictures that you've taken, and edit them on another device such as a laptop. So that's one downside of being having a great camera and stuff, is that you're not gonna fully create all your stuff. You know, if you're into content creation, it might not be the best way to do it. But if you're sending a video or a picture to somebody, or uploading it to social media, and you're not doing any heavy editing, you'll be very, very happy with the results. For the selfie camera, you got an 8 megapixel shooter at 1080p video. You're gonna have some great shots. There's not much to talk about there. One surprising thing about this phone, a little bonus, is that it has a headphone jack. I personally don't care about the headphone jack anymore. I use Bluetooth. I haven't really had a need for a headphone jack anymore. But for a lot of people, you're getting a flagship quality level device for $450, but it has that headphone jack that's pretty much only available on lower price handsets. So it's a nice little touch for the Pixel 5a. This lets you, it reminds you that this phone pretty much has it all figured out. You got Bluetooth 5.0, so this will happily connect to all your wireless devices, your smartwatch, your smart bands, your wireless headphones, your wireless speakers. So, nothing too special there. Connect very good with all those devices. You got USB Type-C, another standard for an Android phone, nothing special there. For unlocking, it's a very, nothing dramatic. It's a rear-mounted fingerprint reader, very old school, but very reliable. I have no problems with that. There's some issues with in-display fingerprint readers. They don't always work all the time, even on higher-end devices. So this is a very reliable way. Nothing to complain about here on the fingerprint reader unlocking front. And next is the battery, probably the single most important feature of a smartphone nowadays. Pixels have always had terrible battery life, but now they stepped it up and they're introducing it with the Pixel 5a 5G phone. Now 5G phones use a lot of juice, but this phone will rock you 2 to 3 days of battery depending on your usage. It has a 4,680 milliamp batteries. It's gonna be a beast of a smartphone for battery life. So you're definitely gonna be rocking this all day, no problem. It also has fast charging at 18 watts, which is okay. They include the charger in the box. That's a godsend right there. If you're gifting this to somebody, they don't have to buy anything else. They get to experience some type of fast charging. It's not the fastest, but paired with the big battery, paired with the optimized software and all that good stuff, and the lower, the mediocre, okay screen, this battery is going to be really, really good on this phone. This is probably one of the standout features of this device besides the price and 5G. So there you have it, folks. I went through the specs. You pretty much know 99% of everything you need to know about the Pixel 5a 5G. But I do really think, in my opinion, that this is the best phone that you could buy if you want an Android phone. This has everything a flagship really, really needs. It throws away all the fluff. The only downside to this phone is really that, it doesn't have a refresh rate. For me, it doesn't matter. I'll repeat that again. It doesn't really matter if it has a 60 hertz display, but for a lot of people that might be a difference maker. But all the other good stuff is in there that makes this a super good phone for everybody. This is the phone that will please pretty much everybody. You can't find anything really wrong with this device. I mean, it has the big old battery. That's probably number one in my book for a feature. Is like, yeah, Pixels they finally solved the problem. Also, this has a pretty good processor. It has the right amount of RAM. The price is on point at $450. Half the price of a flagship. I consider this a flagship phone at a mid-range price, which makes this even better deal. Another thing that I kind of don't like about this is that it's only available in the US and Japan, and it's not available on prepaid. If it were on prepaid, this would be the best phone ever to buy for Android, like by a long shot, because if you get it on Metro or Cricket or Boost, they usually sell this type of phone at its resale price for $0 or for $50. So I'm kind of disappointed in that regard. But the software is fast. The software is up to date. It's gonna get several years of updates, so that's good right there. And it's gonna run all your apps. This is an everyday phone. It has, does some water resistance. Again, it has a good battery. It has the headphone jack. Storage is on point. You're not gonna run out of storage with this. 128 gigs. It's just a very good all-around phone. Slap it with pair it with a case, pair it with a watch. This phone will pretty much do everything you need it to do. There's nothing really to complain about with this phone. I really do think this is the best phone that you could buy. Yes, there are other phones that I would recommend if you're looking for more of a value driven. This isn't just a value driven phone. This is actually the best Android phone that you could get, and you're not compromising pretty much anything. And I really mean that. The camera is the best that you could get. It's flagship level. There's no problems there. I definitely think this is the phone to get if you're looking for an Android phone that does everything. Now, tell me if I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.